I'm a 29-year-old woman getting married soon to my fiancé, who's 30. We've been planning this wedding for over a year now, and everything seemed to be falling into place until recently. The venue we chose is stunning, a small, elegant spot tucked away in a quiet location. It's perfect for the intimate ceremony we wanted, and we've already paid the deposit. The date is set, and I've been beyond excited to see it all come together. Enter my cousin. She's 25, and while we're family, we've never been particularly close. She's the type who always seems to have an opinion on everything, even when no one's asking for it. When I started sharing updates about my wedding plans, she became unusually interested. At first, it was little things, asking about my dress, decorations, and guest list. It didn't bother me. I figured she was just being curious or maybe even excited for me. But then she started giving unsolicited advice. A lot of it. It started small. She suggested different flower arrangements and made comments about how I could really elevate the decor if I went with her ideas. I brushed it off, chalking it up to her just wanting to be helpful. But soon, she was chiming in on every decision, questioning the catering, the color scheme, even the choice of music. It was like she thought she was co-planning the wedding with me. My fiancé found it amusing at first, but I started to feel a bit uneasy. Still, I didn't want to cause drama, so I let it slide. The venue, though, became a particular point of interest for her. She asked a lot of questions: how we found it, how much it cost, whether we'd looked at other places. She even asked for the contact details of the coordinator. Again, I didn't think much of it. She mentioned she was thinking about getting married herself, so I assumed she was just gathering ideas for the future. A few weeks later, she casually mentioned she was planning her own wedding. I was surprised since I hadn't even known she was engaged. Apparently, she'd been dating a guy for 6 months, and they decided to tie the knot. Good for them, right? She then asked me for more details about my venue. I shared them because, at this point, I didn't see any harm in it. She even joked about how she'd love to find a place just like it. I told her to check it out if she was interested, thinking there was no way it would overlap with my plans. Then things got weird. Over the next few weeks, she kept bringing up my venue. She'd casually suggest that maybe we should consider other options, something more central, something bigger, something that could accommodate more people. It didn't make sense since we had already made our choice and were happy with it. When I asked why she was so focused on it, she'd just shrug and change the subject. About a month before my wedding, she dropped the bombshell. She was now officially engaged and had chosen the exact same venue for her wedding, set to take place 2 months after mine. I was stunned. She knew I had already booked it, so this had to be intentional. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off as a coincidence, saying she fell in love with the place when I recommended it. She even had the audacity to say I should feel flattered that she liked my taste. I called the venue immediately. They reassured me that my booking was secure and reminded me that their policy allows only 1 wedding per day. But my cousin was still determined to use it. She started talking about her backup plan in case her date clashed with mine. The whole thing felt off, so I decided to keep a closer eye on her. Sure enough, I overheard her talking to her bridesmaids about how she was planning to get the venue for a steal. She joked about how I wouldn't need it if I got cold feet or if something went wrong with my planning. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just being overzealous. She was actively trying to sabotage my wedding. I told my fiancé, who was furious. My parents were equally upset, but they didn't want to stir up family drama. I, however, wasn't about to let this slide. I started documenting everything: emails, conversations with the venue, even snippets of her comments that others had overheard. I also began researching other venues as a backup, just in case she somehow managed to pull something off. My cousin's antics didn't stop. She started spreading rumors within the family that my wedding planning was a mess and that I might cancel. It felt like she was trying to create doubt so she could swoop in and claim the venue. Some family members even started suggesting that maybe I should move my date for the sake of harmony. I stood firm. I wasn't about to let her steal this from me. This whole situation has been a nightmare, but I'm determined to see my wedding through as planned. I've worked too hard for this day to let her ruin it. Next steps? I'm preparing for a direct confrontation and making sure my venue booking is bulletproof. Things are escalating quickly, and I have a feeling this is just the beginning. Update 1. A week after my cousin dropped the bombshell about her engagement and her plan to use the same venue, I decided to confront her directly. She came over for a family dinner, and I took the opportunity to pull her aside. I laid everything out: how her actions didn't make sense, how she knew I had already booked the venue, and how it looked like she was deliberately trying to undermine my plans. She acted surprised. She said it was all a misunderstanding, claiming she'd never intended to step on my toes. She insisted she'd been looking at the venue long before I booked it, which was clearly a lie, but I didn't want to argue in circles. She promised she was considering other places and wouldn't interfere with my wedding. I let it go for the moment, hoping this would be the end of it. It wasn't. The next day, I received a message from the venue coordinator. They wanted to confirm some final details for my booking, and out of nowhere, asked if I was aware someone else in my family had inquired about my wedding date. My cousin had contacted them again, pretending to be part of my planning team, and asked if she could make changes to the booking. The coordinator said they declined her request but wanted to make sure I was aware of the situation. I told my fiancé, who was livid. He wanted to cancel the booking entirely and find another venue just to avoid the headache, but I wasn't about to let her win. Instead, I contacted a few friends to get their take on the situation. Every single one of them told me to stand my ground. This wasn't just a minor misunderstanding anymore. It was a calculated attempt to hijack my wedding. Meanwhile, my cousin was ramping up her efforts. She announced to the family that she had been offered a special discount by the venue and that she might be booking it soon. This made no sense, given what the coordinator had told me, so I called the venue again to clarify. They confirmed that no booking had been made under her name and that my date was secure. I asked them to document everything just in case. The rumors started shortly after. Family members began calling to ask if my wedding plans were in trouble. My cousin was apparently telling everyone that my planning was chaotic and that I might cancel. Some relatives suggested I consider moving my date for the sake of family harmony, claiming it would make things easier for everyone. It was infuriating. She had created this entire narrative to make me look unreasonable. I decided enough was enough. I consulted a lawyer to review my contract with the venue. The lawyer reassured me that I was well within my rights to keep my booking, and that any attempt by my cousin to interfere could be considered a breach of contract. It was a relief to know I was legally protected, but the emotional toll was starting to weigh on me. Then came the ultimatum. My cousin called me directly and gave me two options: move my wedding date or the family would never forgive me. She said I was being selfish and accused me of ruining her special day. I didn't respond. Instead, I documented the conversation and shared the details with my fiancé. He was furious and said he was ready to cut ties with her completely. That same week, I overheard her talking to one of our mutual family members. She was laughing about how she planned to go public with her side of the story if I didn't back down. She mentioned something about posting on social media about how I was being unfair and controlling. It was clear she was trying to pressure me into giving up. At this point, I decided to get ahead of the situation. I sent an update to all our wedding guests, explaining the situation in simple terms. I didn't name names or point fingers, but I made it clear that our date and venue were set, and that any rumors suggesting otherwise were false. The response was overwhelmingly supportive. Guests messaged me to say they had my back and that they were excited to celebrate with us. This only seemed to escalate my cousin's behavior. She started making snide comments at family gatherings and even posted vague, passive-aggressive messages on social media about people who think they own everything. My fiancé told me to block her and focus on the wedding. It was good advice. I'm standing firm now. I've worked too hard to let her take this from me, and I'm not about to budge. The venue is on my side, my guests are supportive, and I've taken every precaution to ensure my wedding goes ahead as planned. If she wants to keep causing drama, that's on her. But one thing's for sure, this is far from over. Update 2. A few days after sending my update to the wedding guests, things took a turn. My cousin, determined to paint herself as the victim, started telling everyone that I was being controlling about the venue. She framed it as though I had monopolized the location and refused to share it, which doesn't even make sense given how wedding bookings work. Still, the rumors spread quickly within the family. People started calling me, asking why I couldn't just compromise. While dealing with that mess, I stumbled upon her hidden agenda. A mutual friend who had heard about the drama mentioned that my cousin had also been looking into the venue's sister location. This was news to me. The sister venue is nearby and similar in style but smaller and less popular. It seemed like she was trying to create a backup plan while still stirring the pot about my wedding. I called the sister venue to confirm, and they admitted she'd inquired about availability but hadn't booked anything yet. The family started taking sides. Some were fully behind me, saying my cousin's behavior was outrageous. Others tried to keep the peace, suggesting that I should be the bigger person. My cousin took full advantage of this divide, leaning on anyone who would listen to her sob story about how she was being mistreated. I kept my distance and focused on securing my plans. Then an unexpected twist. The venue coordinator called me with a surprise. They offered me a free upgrade to a larger event space on the property. The upgraded space wasn't initially available when I booked, but another couple had recently canceled. The venue team assured me it wouldn't change my decor or planning. It would just give us more room for our guests. They also hoped this would help prevent further conflict. I accepted the upgrade immediately. It felt like a win, especially since my cousin couldn't possibly claim this new space as her own. While this solved one issue, my cousin wasn't done. Frustrated that her plans to overshadow my wedding weren't working, she posted a heartfelt message on social media. In the post, she vaguely referred to being disrespected by family and excluded from sharing special moments. She didn't name me, but anyone who knew the situation could connect the dots. The post garnered sympathy comments from her friends, which she gleefully liked and replied to. It was clearly an attempt to turn the narrative in her favor. At this point, I decided to share my side of the story in a wedding planning forum to get some outside perspective. I laid out the facts without naming names and asked for advice. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of comments came pouring in, all supportive and validating what I already knew. I wasn't in the wrong. Many people shared similar experiences with toxic family members, which helped me feel less alone in the situation. The post gained so much traction that it started spreading beyond the forum. People were messaging me with encouragement, telling me to stay strong. Some even offered tips on how to handle a manipulative relative. The outpouring of support gave me the confidence to push forward. The venue itself got involved too. They posted a public statement on their social media, clarifying that my booking was exclusive to my date and that no one else could use the space. While they didn't mention my cousin directly, it was a clear response to her behavior. This move seemed to embarrass her because shortly after, she privately messaged me. In her message, she claimed she was backing off from the venue dispute, but added a thinly veiled threat about taking legal action if I continued to slander her. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity. She had no legal grounds and was clearly just trying to intimidate me. The family tension reached a breaking point. Arguments broke out at gatherings about who was in the right. Some relatives started distancing themselves from both of us, wanting to avoid the drama altogether. Amidst all this, my cousin's mother's sister pulled me aside during one of these tense moments. She admitted that my cousin had always been manipulative, even as a child. She shared a few stories about past incidents, which gave me some peace of mind knowing this wasn't a new pattern of behavior. Eventually, the pressure seemed to get to my cousin. A few days after the venue's public statement went live, she quietly canceled her inquiries with both the original venue and its sister location. She didn't make any big announcement or apologize, she just dropped the whole thing. From what I've heard, she's now scrambling to find a new location for her wedding. Through all of this, my fiancé has been my rock. He stood by me every step of the way, reassuring me that we're doing the right thing by holding firm. We're stronger as a couple because of this ordeal, and I can't wait to marry him. Looking back, it's almost laughable how much effort my cousin put into creating drama over a wedding venue. Despite everything, I'm excited for my big day and grateful to the venue team for their support. We've finalized all the details, and I'm confident it's going to be the perfect day. If there's one thing this whole mess has taught me, it's how to handle family drama with grace and a solid paper trail. Update 3. The wedding day arrived faster than I expected, and to my relief, everything went off without a hitch. The venue was even more stunning than I had imagined, and the upgraded space made the day feel even more magical. From the flowers to the food, every detail we had planned for over a year came together perfectly. My fiancé and I exchanged vows in front of our closest friends and family, and it felt like the culmination of all the stress and effort was finally worth it. As the ceremony began, I couldn't help but glance around for any signs of trouble. But my cousin wasn't there. She didn't RSVP, so I wasn't surprised, but her absence was still noticeable. A few family members whispered about it, but most were focused on the celebration. Without her looming presence, I felt a huge sense of relief. Throughout the day, many guests approached me to express their support. Some had heard bits of the drama and wanted to commend me for how I handled it. Others simply congratulated us and commented on how beautiful everything was. It was heartwarming to see that, despite all the chaos leading up to this moment, everyone was here for the right reasons, to celebrate our marriage. One of the most surprising moments came during the reception. A few family members who had sided with my cousin earlier in the drama pulled me aside to apologize. They admitted they didn't fully understand the situation at the time and felt bad for pressuring me to compromise. It felt genuine, and while I wasn't holding grudges, it was nice to know they recognized how unfair the whole thing had been. The rest of the night was filled with laughter, dancing, and so much love. I couldn't have asked for a better way to start this new chapter of my life. My fiancé was glowing with happiness, and we spent the evening surrounded by people who truly cared about us. When the last song played and the guests began to leave, I felt nothing but gratitude for how everything had turned out. A few months later, I received an unexpected message from my cousin. After months of silence, she reached out to express regret for everything that had happened. She admitted she had let her emotions and insecurities get the best of her, and that she felt embarrassed about how far she had taken things. She didn't offer a full explanation for her behavior, but the tone of her message suggested she was sincere in her apology. I took a while to think about how to respond. Ultimately, I decided to accept her apology, but set firm boundaries moving forward. I told her that while I appreciated her reaching out, it would take time to rebuild trust, and I wasn't ready to resume a close relationship. She seemed to understand, and we left it at that. In the months that followed, I heard through the family grapevine that my cousin had quietly canceled her wedding plans. No one knew the exact reason, but it was clear she had taken a step back from the spotlight. I didn't pry, but I couldn't help but wonder if the drama with my wedding had made her rethink her priorities. Looking back on everything, I can see how much I've grown through this experience. It taught me how to stand up for myself, even when it felt like the odds were stacked against me. I learned the importance of setting boundaries and not letting other people's actions derail what's important to me. Most of all, I came out of it with a stronger relationship with my husband, who stood by me through every twist and turn. Sharing wedding photos online was the final cherry on top. The pictures captured every joyful moment, from our vows to the dance floor antics of our guests. I posted a selection of them with a heartfelt message thanking everyone who supported us through the planning process. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with friends and family commenting on how beautiful everything looked and how happy we seemed. Now, as I sit here reflecting on it all, I can't help but laugh a little at how much effort my cousin put into trying to sabotage my wedding. In the end, it only made me appreciate the people who truly have my back. The whole ordeal became a lesson in how to handle family drama and a reminder that sometimes standing firm is the best thing you can do. Our honeymoon was the perfect way to decompress after everything. My husband and I spent 2 weeks exploring a beautiful tropical island, reconnecting and dreaming about our future together. It was everything we needed to close the chapter on the wedding drama and start our marriage on a high note. And now that everything has settled, I'm moving forward with a renewed focus on the things that matter most: my marriage, my happiness, and the relationships that truly enrich my life. My cousin's antics may have stolen the spotlight for a moment, but in the end, the day was ours, and it was perfect. Update 4. A few weeks after my wedding, I received a message from an unknown number. The message was oddly vague, saying, "I've made some new plans that work better for me anyway. Just thought you should know." It didn't take long to realize it was my cousin. She didn't explicitly mention her wedding, but the timing felt deliberate. I ignored it at first, assuming she just wanted to stir things up again, but the cryptic tone left me suspicious. Not long after, I started noticing her social media activity. She began posting statuses that felt directed at me, even though she never mentioned me by name. One read, "Some people just can't let go of what's theirs, no matter how small it is," and another said, "It's sad when people are so controlling over something meant to be shared." Her friends chimed in with supportive comments, clearly buying into her narrative. I stayed quiet, but I couldn't shake the feeling she wasn't done causing trouble. The next big family gathering was a reunion a month later, and I knew I'd have to face her. True to form, she came prepared with passive-aggressive comments. During a conversation about my wedding, she casually mentioned how stressful it was for everyone and how it had caused unnecessary tension. Her tone made it clear she wasn't blaming herself. Later, she added that my venue was cute for a small wedding, but that she'd found something much grander for her own. A few relatives exchanged awkward glances, clearly uncomfortable with her behavior. It didn't stop there. Over the next few days, she started making more pointed remarks whenever we were in the same room. She'd comment loudly about how some people just don't know how to share the spotlight, or how she was glad she'd found a venue that wasn't too basic. It was exhausting. I finally told her I wasn't interested in hearing about her wedding plans anymore, and suggested we move on. That didn't sit well with her. She flipped out, claiming I was selfish and controlling. She accused me of thinking I owned the concept of weddings and said I should be more supportive of her. Her voice rose, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. But before I could respond, my aunt and uncle stepped in. They told her to calm down and pointed out how uncomfortable her behavior had been for everyone. For the first time, someone else in the family openly sided with me, which seemed to deflate her a little. But she wasn't finished. A few days later, she threatened to post her side of the story online. She hinted that she'd twist events to make me look like the villain, saying she'd share how I had excluded her and made her feel disrespected. I was tempted to call her bluff, but instead I decided to let her dig her own hole. I knew the truth was on my side, and I wasn't about to get dragged into another round of drama. My parents, trying to keep the peace, suggested we all sit down and talk it out. At this point, I was done. I refused to participate in any mediated discussions and told them I wasn't interested in engaging further. The family had seen enough of her antics, and I wasn't going to entertain any more of her schemes. The final straw came when she started comparing her new venue to mine on social media. She posted side-by-side pictures of what she claimed was her upgraded venue and a photo of my wedding setup that a relative had shared. Her captions implied that hers was superior, but the pettiness of it all backfired. My friends and even a few family members laughed at how desperate it made her look. By then, it was clear to everyone that she was just trying to save face. As the months passed, her posts about wedding planning gradually stopped. At first, I thought she was gearing up for her big day in silence, but then I heard through the grapevine that she had quietly canceled her wedding plans. The details were vague, but it seemed like her engagement had fallen apart. I didn't pry, and I didn't reach out. It wasn't my place to get involved, and honestly, I was relieved to have some peace. In contrast, my life was thriving. I shared a few more wedding photos online, highlighting the beautiful day we had and the love we felt from everyone there. Seeing those photos again reminded me of how perfect everything had been, despite the chaos leading up to it. It felt good knowing we'd stuck to our plans and created a day that was truly ours. Looking back, the drama with my cousin ended up being a strange blessing in disguise. It taught me how to assert myself and set boundaries, even when it meant standing alone. The whole experience showed me who in my family I could truly rely on and who I needed to keep at arm's length. Most importantly, it brought me closer to my husband, who supported me through every twist and turn. As for my cousin, I have no idea what her next move will be, but it's no longer my concern. I've let go of the resentment and focused on the positives. In the end, the drama was just noise in the background of an otherwise perfect beginning to my married life. Update. Months after the wedding, when life had finally settled into a blissful routine, I received a message out of the blue. It was from my cousin. Her tone was surprisingly different, apologetic even. She wrote that she wanted to address everything that had happened between us. She admitted that her actions during my wedding planning were driven by insecurity and jealousy. According to her, she had felt overshadowed by the attention my wedding received and acted out of frustration without considering the consequences. Her message was long, detailing how she had been struggling with self-esteem issues for a while. She mentioned how seeing me accomplish something she hadn't yet made her feel inadequate, even though she knew it wasn't rational. She apologized for trying to sabotage my plans and for the stress she had caused. It was, admittedly, a heartfelt apology. I wasn't sure how to respond. On one hand, the apology seemed genuine, but on the other, it felt like it was coming too late. The damage was done, and rebuilding trust after everything she had done wouldn't be easy. I decided to take some time to think about how to proceed before replying. After a few days, I responded and asked her to clarify what she was hoping to achieve with her apology. She admitted that she wasn't expecting forgiveness immediately, but wanted to take responsibility for her actions. We ended up having a long conversation over text, during which she admitted she had been avoiding the issue and not confronting her own shortcomings. She revealed that she had started therapy to address her feelings of inadequacy and jealous working on becoming a better person. This was a new side of her I hadn't seen before. While I was cautious, I decided to leave the door open for future reconciliation. I made it clear that rebuilding any sort of relationship would take time and effort, and I set firm boundaries about respecting my space and decisions. She seemed to understand, which gave me some hope that this might be the start of real change. When I told my family about the apology, reactions were mixed. Some were supportive and encouraged me to give her a chance, while others felt she should have reached out much earlier, before the wedding. My parents were particularly skeptical but said they would support whatever decision I made. It was a tricky situation, but I wanted to approach it with caution. After a bit of back and forth, we agreed to meet for coffee. It was the first time we'd seen each other since the family reunion, and it was clear she was nervous. The conversation was honest and frank. She reiterated her apology and opened up about how her actions had been a reflection of her own unhappiness. I told her how much stress she had caused me and how difficult it had been to navigate the drama she created. We both agreed that our relationship would never go back to how it was before, but could be built on mutual respect moving forward. Interestingly, during our conversation, she mentioned that she had called off her wedding. She didn't go into much detail but said it was due to personal reasons and that she needed to focus on herself before taking such a big step. It sounded like she was finally taking responsibility for her life, which was a relief to hear. Reflecting on everything later, I realized her apology, while unexpected, gave me the peace of mind I needed to move on. I wasn't holding on to resentment anymore, and I felt lighter knowing I had set boundaries and stood up for myself. The wedding drama no longer had a hold on me, and I could focus entirely on my marriage and happiness. In the weeks that followed, I shared a few more photos from the wedding, highlighting the joy and love we had experienced that day. Every time I looked at them, I was reminded of how perfect the day was, despite the chaos leading up to it. My friends and family who had supported me continued to comment on how beautiful everything looked and how happy we seemed. This entire ordeal taught me valuable lessons about standing up for myself, navigating family dynamics, and the importance of setting boundaries. It showed me who in my life truly had my back and who I needed to keep at a distance. Most importantly, it brought me closer to my husband, who remained my biggest supporter through every twist and turn. As for my cousin, I'm cautiously optimistic about her future. While I'm not expecting us to be best friends anytime soon, I'm glad she's taking steps to work on herself. I've made it clear that any future interactions will need to be built on mutual respect and honesty. In the end, I'm at peace with how everything unfolded. The wedding was everything I dreamed it would be, and the drama, while overwhelming at the time, became a lesson in resilience and growth. I came out of it stronger, more assertive, and more confident in my ability to handle whatever life throws my way. As I move forward, I'm focused on the people and relationships that truly matter, and for that, I'm grateful.